Opinions and ideas expressed in the following Moraine Valley Broadcast Channel recording are those of its creators and do not represent the views of Moraine Valley Community College.
Hey, it's Jacob bringing you a new topic about how segregation and the process of desegregation during the civil rights era impact Lin Manuel Miranda's casting in his musical. Talking about this topic, we have with us
Itzel Romano,
Mandy Diaz,
Ronnie Ovando.
Alright, ladies, how does blackface a form of segregation?
Well, in theater, black characters began to appear only to portray African Americans as inferior human beings. The use of blackface was very popular among the white folks since it consisted of white actors dressing up like African Americans, and they showed that black people were inferior by mocking them and making the black characters look idiotic. For example, a popular character was Jim Crow, whom was an exaggerated representation of what most society saw black people as.
To me, blackface is not only the act of segregation, but also a symbol of it. It's basically saying to black actors, we don't want you. We don't care for you. We'd rather have white people, even if those white people are speaking in weird accents and or painted or to the point where it just looks fake.
Blackface was a form of segregation because it centralized the idea of white supremacy and allowed white people to spread the stereotypes that African Americans were inadequate and unintelligent. The fact that these ideas were engraved into the white audience's minds is what kept African Americans oppressed then and well into the future, not just in theater, but in every aspect of life.
So throughout history, how has African Americans integrated themselves into theater?
Well, during the Civil Rights era, many protest groups developed to create a movement against racial segregation and discrimination. The process of desegregation became effective because of the work of these protest groups and individual leaders who encouraged others to accept the unity of all Americans living in the USA. For instance, a major inspiration for all black performers was Charles Gilpin. He took the important role of becoming the first black main character in one of Eugene O'Neill's productions, and Eugene O'Neill was a major producer and actor also back during the Civil Rights era. Since the play in which he performed was successful, Gilpin was recognized as inspiration to other black performers because of his transition of not only working for a black company but also being involved with a more prestigious white company as well.
I think a common pattern that we see when it comes to African Americans trying to integrate themselves is that you see them have a sort of collective, like, grassroots movement. Like, for example, the Harlem Renaissance. Like, it was black people themselves who, like, we're gonna, like, create this art, and then that art, that whole culture became the dominant culture. It became like what we know today is like the jazz age.
Also, another pattern that I see is that mostly African Americans start to become integrated into society is mostly because of a white person. Like Helen Hayes was known as the first lady of an American theater, was involved in the desegregation of the National Theater, because using her fame after winning a Tony for Best Actress, she decided to perform to an integrated audience and then wrote to the Washington Post to praise about the audience. And because she took an early stand against segregation, her actions led to the National Association of Advanced and Colored People.
I think even when African Americans did try to integrate themselves into the musical culture, they had to endure a lot of humiliation still, which they endured like during like segregation. They had to, in many of the shows, like they were depicted as kind of like oblivious to the fact that they were being oppressed, and they, like, while other white actors, they would have like lines where they were emotionally driven and all this. A lot of the black actors, they were kind of just like as used as comic relief, and they were just used as singing and dancing, but they weren't actually given any like real character.
How significant is Lin Manuel Miranda's casting in his musical?
So before I completely answer the question, I want to give some background as to segregation, and I want to quote Chris Chan, who is a visual anthropologist at cut.com, and they make these 100 Years of Beauty videos, and they also make research videos behind it. And they made one. Their first one was USA, and they had both a white model and a black model. And in that one, he says, we still have in 2016 incredibly segregated forms of living. Beauty is in particular one of those. And although it's about beauty, it's still talking about segregation. He talks about how there's different hair products for black people versus white people, different ads, and I agree with that. And so I still agree that segregation exists, but it exists society-wise, not legally. And this is why I think that Lin Miranda's casting is significant, because the casting itself is desegregation. It's not another slave play or a story which, historically speaking, black characters can exist. It's not another use of tokenism, not another white cast taking black culture and using it to gain popularity, or another like niche play or something that's black oriented. It's a musical made by people of color, especially black people, reclaiming their own storytelling tools such as the use of rap and hip hop, and for once being celebrated for it.
Well, yeah, I agree that there's still racial discrimination and segregation among today's society, and that is why Lin Manuel Miranda does shows a stand against it by using his racially diverse cast in his Grammy Award-winning musical. Like, he purposely chose a black actor to play the role of Aaron Burr, because it is ironic since he was a white American politician during the American Revolution era. Even though the musical mostly focuses on Alexander Hamilton's role in history, Miranda uses Leslie Odom, which is the actor, ethnicity to make a statement in the play. The fact that a black actor is playing as a white character in Broadway is ironic, because in history white performers used to play black characters since black people weren't allowed to perform, which was mostly blackface, what they used. Not only did Leslie Odom perform as a white politician, but also his role in the play was very important, since the character of Aaron Burr was the antagonist of the play.
I think Lin Manuel's musical and casting is very significant overall, especially now, because even now we still face a lot of performers face a lot of discrimination when being casted a lot of the times, and even when a lot of time like people are discriminated against because like they don't fit the certain, like kind of like how you're saying, they don't fit the certain role, and then sometimes they simply just don't cast them because they're not the ideal race that they want them to be. Hence, like a lot of the time people are like, a lot of characters are whitewashed, and then it eliminates the possibility for a lot of the percentage of like, it slims down the percentage of like minority performers. Like, there's not a lot of them. If you see like the Asian population, the Latino population, the African American population, they're very slim, and it's like even the people that are out there, they're not cast a lot of the time. I think that's why it's why his play is so significant, because like it gives them a platform, it gives them like a way to voice their, like it gives them a voice. It allows them to see like that they have talent, that they have like the qualifications, like it just gives them a voice. It lets like a lot of people see that they're underestimating their capabilities and they can't take on these roles. Like they're showing it like these are historically white people and like they casted Puerto Ricans, African Americans, and they still it's been a lot of people have a like they see it as revolutionary, and that kind of just goes to show like you don't need a white cast for it to be like, or you don't need it to be like completely historically accurate for it to be revolutionary.
Thank you, ladies, for your thoughts on the topic, and thank you to all our listeners for tuning in.